anyone says, that is my absolute favorite part in this whole film. It was so cool. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Adorkable Rachel, and it's time once again for another episode of Rachel Reviews, so let's just hop into it. After 2 years of waiting, The Last Jedi, the second film of the sequel trilogy, is finally here! And oh my god, there are no words. No, seriously, I had to really sit and think about what I thought about this film, and that's kind of why it took me a while to get it out. I spent the whole day writing the review for it. It took a while to really sort out everything that I thought about this movie. And I'm gonna do my best to not give anything away. We might go into spoilers in another video, but today we're gonna keep it kind of condensed and just talk about the film as a whole for the most part. And before we get into the review, this episode is brought to you by Stardust. I know for a lot of us we really love movies and trailers and TV shows, and sometimes we just really want to share our immediate reactions with the world, right? Well, Stardust allows you to do exactly that. Stardust is a free app that you can download onto your phone, link is in the description down below, and is the easiest way to share your immediate reactions on social media. Whenever I go see a new movie, I always post my immediate reactions on this app, so if you want to know exactly what I thought right after seeing a movie, this is the place to see it. And it's not just new stuff, because there are literally thousands of things that you can react to on this app. And if you download the app, you can post your own reactions, watch other reactors, and if you tag me in one of your reactions, you might get a chance to appear in one of my upcoming videos. Stay tuned until the end of this video to see if your reaction to Star Wars The Last Jedi made it into the video. Now, let's talk Star Wars! Episode 8 The Last Jedi was written and directed by Rian Johnson, and it picks up exactly where the last movie left off. Rey is standing before Luke Skywalker after finally finding him. She hands him his lightsaber, and as I'm sure you saw in the trailer, he takes it. And for the last 2 years, we've all been waiting to see what he'll do or what he'll say next, and I'm not gonna say exactly what happens, but I'm just gonna say for me that it was so worth the payoff because I don't think anyone saw this coming. Again, I loved it. Second best part of the film for me. And to give you a condensed version of the film, Poe, Finn, and a new girl named Rose go on a bit of a rogue mission together to bring down the First Order, and Rey starts learning and doing some training with Luke. And I don't want to say much more than that because it's a bit of a complicated experience from there on out. But definitely a fun and memorable one. So let's talk about some of the characters in the film. Mark frickin' Hamill, man! Oh my god. Again, I don't care what you say, I loved Luke in this movie. And yeah, I'm aware that Hamill himself had a couple of reservations about what his character does in this film, but you know what? Whatever they changed or didn't change, I think it's fantastic. This actually is a lot like how I imagine Luke would be in his later years. Just more traumatized and more sarcastic and more grumpy. In a strange way, he's kind of content and he's very wise, but he's also damaged and kind of intense at some moments. He's also kind of old and he doesn't give a f what you think. Also, if you remember Luke's arc in the original trilogy, he was constantly in the mindset of doing what he felt was right for the galaxy, and I think that he still has that mindset in this movie. After what he's seen, he thinks that the Jedi should be destroyed, which is a little drastic, but that's the mindset he's in. He thinks that that is what's right for the galaxy. And maybe that's right or maybe it's wrong, but as of this moment, that's what he feels is best. So I actually think that that's kind of true to his character. Kind of a weird analogy, but to me, it's a lot like Kermit in the 2011 film The Muppets. Some people thought that Kermit being all sad and depressed about letting his friends down was too much, but you know what? To me, I feel like we all have our breaking points, and for both Kermit and Luke, the breaking points here make sense for both of them. Plus, when Luke comes across Chewie and R2-D2, you can just see the light in his eyes again. Like, he's all serious, but then when he sees his old friends, like back in the good old days, you just see his heart just soften, and it's just so adorable. And again, also, not gonna say what happens, but in the climax of this film, Luke was just, it blew my mind and it was amazing. I know some might think that Luke was a little out of character at times, but I think given the circumstances, it felt right. And one more thing, I really love watching Luke and Rey work off each other. This is exactly how I imagined their training would go together. It was just perfect. Finn and Poe are also back, of course. Yay! They actually don't spend a lot of time together in the movie, but it was really cool to see them, you know, pair up. briefly. But to the movie's credit, we actually do get more Poe this time around. If you notice, he didn't have a lot of screen time in the last film. Yeah, maybe he was a little overly quippy in this film, but you know what? I just really love his passionate energy, and he's just a fun character to hang out with throughout the film. Yeah, I said it right. Hang out with. So if you like the fun dude that's sarcastic that comes around every once in a while, then you'll enjoy his presence, but if not, you might find him a little annoying. I don't know. Bit of an acquired taste. Also, as you'd expect, there are some new characters in the film. There is this one new character named Rose who goes from being a maintenance worker to playing a much, much bigger part. She was, you know, she was cute. She was awesome. Like, she's not the most fun character in the world, you know, I think that kind of goes more to Poe, but she was a good character to be with on the perplexing journey. But her and Finn on the mission together, I felt like they were kind of adding a little too much to that. Wasn't really needed, and plus it has a weird twist. I don't know, I didn't see that coming, and not in a good way. Also, remember seeing this in the trailer? I feel bad, but I was kind of expecting more. And that's really too bad, because it feels like everything involving John Boyega just could have been so much more exciting than it actually was in this movie. We also have Laura Dern as Vice Admiral Holdo, and not as interesting as a lot of the other characters, I guess. I mean, Laura Dern did look like she was pretty happy to be here and really wanted to bring a lot of dignity to this character. Starting to feel that conflicting energy all of a sudden. Oh, but wait, with this being Carrie Fisher's last film, oh, she did not disappoint. It was insanely emotional to see her on the big screen again. For the final time. At one point in the movie, I definitely had a bit of a cry moment when it seemed like, knowing what we know, they were gonna go down the route we thought they were gonna go. Seems like they could have easily done that given what happens in the movie, but I guess for some reason they don't. But still, for the little appearances that she did have in this movie, she was incredible. She just carried the grace and the weight of Leia so well, and it was just a really wonderful final hurrah for her character. Also, I gotta bring this up, again, without giving away too much, but, Space Leia? What was that about? I mean, okay, it's implied that she has the feelings of the Force, and I don't know, maybe possibly she trained with Luke off screen somewhere? I mean, no one says that she hasn't. Yeah, if you are a Star Wars fan, there are a couple moments like that that make you debate with yourself on whether or not that's plausible. Not gonna lie, it can be a little distracting. Oh, also remember Chewie? He doesn't do a whole lot in this movie. Other than almost eat a porg. Oh yeah, remember the porg that you saw in the trailer that's like a seal but it's got duck feet, and they already sold a ton of merchandise based off of it? You know what, you might find this a little surprising, but I didn't think they were that cute. I'm gonna say it again. They were fluffy seals with duck feet. I don't get it. And besides, other than a couple of little comedic scenes here and there, they actually served nothing to the story. They were just kind of there to be cute and marketable, and I'm sorry, but when it's that obvious, that's kind of annoying. BB-8 was cute and marketable in the last film, but he actually played a big part in the movie, so his marketability was forgivable. And what do Porgs do in this movie? Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Except invade the Millennium Falcon. Sold? Whatever. You know what? If you like the Porgs, that's fine. Really. Good on you if you do enjoy them, but I just didn't really latch that much attachment to them. Sorry. Also, let's talk about Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren. Well, you know what? If he didn't win you over in the last film, it's actually very likely that he will here. Why? Because Kylo is so conflicting in this movie! We know that he's Leia's son, and we know that he turned to the dark side after training with Luke, and we saw in the trailers that he hesitates to take out his own mother. This guy goes through such an emotional roller coaster in this film. I mean, he connects with people that we don't expect him to connect with, and he also makes some dramatic turns that we don't see coming. He really is such a great villain in this franchise. Like a lost soul, he's just trying so hard to find balance, but you know what? It's a little hard to do that when you're constantly being seduced by the dark side, dude. I love his emotional journey throughout this film. I love where he ends up at the end of the movie. I mean, Adam Driver, he just really drove this movie, if you know what I mean. And as you'd imagine, there are some lightsaber battles in this film. One in particular involved two main characters, which was incredibly badass. You know what? It was a little bit of a fantasy of mine to see these characters actually fight together, and not against each other, but actually side by side, and that was just so cool to see in this film. And also, no surprise, a lot of the battles in this film were also really enjoyable and intense, whether it was with lightsabers, or in space, or on land between the Resistance and the First Order. They just really seemed to up the intensity and the suspense in this movie. Like, you know how in the last film we were pretty sure that everyone was gonna make it out okay, it's the first movie, more than likely they're not gonna kill everyone off? Well, actually, this time around, that's not the case. This time, you really feel the danger and the possibility that characters may not make it. Just saying, there was a greater sense of worry for the characters here. Okay, also, I really hope I'm not giving away too much here, but I do want to address one thing that really bothered me in this movie. So Finn and Rose, they go to this planet called Cantonica, right? Okay, so they're going to go find someone, and they're told that they have to go find him in a casino. Yeah, a casino. And I don't mean like it was kind of like a casino, like how the Mos Eisley Cantina was kind of like a bar. No, they actually call it a casino. They go there and lots of different characters and aliens are playing what are essentially slot machines and also playing on craps tables. What? This was a little strange to me because the production design and the blatant wording of it was practically on the prequel level of laziness. Almost like how the diner in Attack of the Clones was so obviously a diner and there was no Star Wars-esque creativity put into it. And I know what they were trying to do with this casino and the undertones that it embodied, but I don't know, this is like the one big part in the film that just didn't seem to fit for me. And you know what? That's really strange considering a lot of the problems that people have with this film. Okay, so yeah, we need to talk about this. So, leading up to the premiere of this movie, critics really seem to enjoy it. In fact, it even has a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, just like The Force Awakens, which is a pretty awesome coincidence if you ask me. But then after it was released, it would seem that a lot of fans took great issue with it. And I mean, people seem to be insanely split. They either love it or they just really cannot stand it. And the opinions just do not seem consistent at all. It's like this movie is turning into the Gollum of the Star Wars films. Well, okay, I can understand that there are some underwhelming parts in this movie, but I think we need to address the real problem here. Did you notice that at the very beginning of this movie when Poe's on the intercom and he's like, Hux? I'm trying to get to Hux with an H, Hux? So, wait, we don't have Christmas in a galaxy far, far away, but we have the letter H? Why is no one addressing that little tidbit? The Star Wars universe has the Latin alphabet in this galaxy? I mean, I can understand them using words like hell and Godspeed in this franchise, that doesn't really bother me, but the letter H? Hello? I thought that we had alien writing systems. Why do we now have the alphabet? Why is no one upset over this? See, I don't know about you guys, but these are the things that I get worked up over. Okay, so jokes aside, let's talk about the real fan problems. Also, fair warning, I actually might defend some of these points a little bit, so maybe wait until the end of the video before you write any comments. Well, from what I've seen, and to sum up the conflict of the most recent Star Wars movie, is that people seem to think that it didn't really go in the direction it was supposed to. For example, I don't think a lot of the character arcs in this film were what people were expecting, and then of course the Force being used in different ways, we'll get to that in a minute, and then also there's the whole, you know, Luke possibly being out of character thing, and I guess a lot of what I just mentioned made people a little cranky. Well, first of all, guys, isn't the whole point of making a new trilogy is to see where you can take it and how much further you can go with the ideas that were already established? I mean, who said everything had to go the way that you wanted it to in your head? Plus, wouldn't it be kind of boring if they went for the obvious? I mean, you know what? Call me crazy, but I actually like the direction that this movie went in. I mean, a lot of it was different and unexpected, but it's supposed to be, and for the most part, I think that the elements in this film worked pretty well. And another big complaint I feel like I've heard from a lot of people is that maybe it was a little too comedic, there was maybe too many comedic moments thrown in there, which, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna deny that, but I think that maybe the issue was not so much the comedy itself, but more just how much it popped up. And then also, they had a tendency to have something really dramatic and then it would go straight to something comedic or the other way around. I mean, for example, we have something really dramatic happen, but then we immediately cut to a scene where a Porg is comically looking insanely sad at Chewie about to eat another fellow Porg. Okay, you know what? That was funny, it really was, but I think it happened a little too soon after that really high drama moment, so I think the bigger issue is the tone shift in this film. So maybe subconsciously that's the big issue people had with it? That's just my theory, that's what I took from it. But I don't know, I mean, is all of that a good enough reason to hate this movie? I mean, yeah, this movie is flawed, but I guess I see it in the way that the original trilogy is flawed. There's all these little nitpicks that you could fix, but they don't stop me from enjoying the movie. And they especially don't stop me on keeping an open mind on where this whole entire trilogy is going. Hell, in the original movies, the flaws were part of the fun of watching. Unlike the prequel movies, which were so flawed that we would pay good money to have those remade. Those movies needed the real do-overs, but I just don't know about this one. You know, maybe I just have a bit more of a positive outlook on this film because the parts that really matter to me, the emotional satisfying parts, are the ones that really do matter, and they really do overshadow the distracting negative parts. And really, there's a lot of good stuff in this movie, but the things that really stood out to me the most were Rey, Kylo, and Luke, and their arcs and where they all took each other. Those had the strongest focus, and that's where the focus needed to be. I liked finding out about their history, I liked seeing how everything affected Kylo and Luke. I liked experiencing Rey's newfound connection to the Force. And I also liked watching a very conflicted Kylo Ren. Those were the things that held this movie together like glue, and those were the things that grabbed me the most. That whole package, along with everything else that made the movie so enjoyable and awesome, was so worth the viewing experience. That's why I can't help but say that I really enjoyed this movie, despite the things that some of us are complaining about. And you know what? Maybe you don't agree with me. Maybe you don't see it the same way that I do. But even so, all the little nitpicks in this film did not seem like a big insult to the franchise. Again, unlike the prequels. Also, I'm just putting it out there. Don't you find it a little interesting that when the last film came out, people thought it was too safe and by the numbers, and now this one is going so outside its comfort zone that it can't even register? Well, actually, I don't know if you noticed, but this film did have a lot of similar elements to The Empire Strikes Back. Didn't the hero separate from the group to find an old mentor and spend a good chunk of the film learning from them? Didn't the other characters escape to find help in a lavish city on another planet? Also, didn't the hero confront the enemy while also being faced with the hard truths of their past? Surprised I'm not seeing a lot of people draw those comparisons. Also, I don't know if you know this, but when The Empire Strikes Back came out, it too had its own share of controversy. I know, right? How is that possible? It's like considered the best Star Wars film ever. Well, actually, a lot of critics and audiences couldn't get past the fact that it was so much darker and out of character compared to the previous movie. But again, once people adjusted to it, they now see it as one of the greatest films ever. And obviously, I can't predict the future, but I just feel like given what we have in The Last Jedi, I think we're gonna kind of see the same thing in this film. People might be a little uncomfortable with it, but once they adjust, then they'll be more accepting. And you know, I actually haven't seen a lot of Rian Johnson's films, but I gotta put this out there. I really enjoy his direction in this movie also. I like that he kind of stepped away from the J.J. Abrams point of view, and he also does kind of step away from the original trilogy. Rian Johnson, to me, I really do think he has a great love for the Star Wars franchise because he just has such an interesting way on how he expands on what's possible in the Star Wars universe. I mean, among a lot of things, we do start to see what the Force is capable of in such bigger ways than I think so many of us imagined. It definitely takes the story on a unique turn, and it's a little darker and a little mind-blowing, and it strangely made sense. And it made me want to see how much further we can take all of this. Also, I do have to point out that Rian Johnson did incorporate some nostalgic elements just like J.J. Abrams, but I actually think that it was a bit more natural this time around. In The Force Awakens, we do see a lot of familiar stuff, but you can't deny that it does kind of feel like sometimes it was just thrown in there to be nostalgic. Here, I didn't get that. When we see something from a previous movie, it actually had a definitive purpose, and I really appreciate that. Obviously, there's some things in this movie that do work and some things that don't, but I personally think that things might have been thrown in a different direction, but for mostly all the right reasons. The movie has a very unique take on the Star Wars universe, and there are things in here that are meant to be explored, and we're meant to go deeper into the mythos of Star Wars. And I know this doesn't always work. Sometimes it can really fall flat. Phantom Menace. But after finally seeing the movie and giving it a chance and some thought, I really feel like most of the stuff in this film does rightly exist in a Star Wars movie. I understand that some of the stuff in this film may not leave you satisfied, and you may have even had big expectations based on the last movie, but look, I think it's really important to remember that one of the biggest themes of Star Wars is to let go of the past and look forward to the future. And really, this film, almost more so than a lot of the other Star Wars movies, embodies that theme incredibly well. Plus, come on, it wouldn't be a very good Star Wars film unless it had some unexpected twists and turns, and this film has that. Truth be told, I actually think that this film has come a long way in the Star Wars verse. Yes, it's very much all over the place, but I also can't ignore that there's so much good stuff in this film, and I like where things end up at the end of the movie, and I can't wait to see how they wrap it all up in the next and final film. And maybe, just maybe, they'll explore on certain elements even further, and I can't wait to see where they take it. Also, one more thing, if you had any questions in the first film that still weren't answered in this one, well, we still have another movie coming up, so maybe if it's important enough, they'll still announce it in that movie. However, I swear to God, we had better find out where Maz got that lightsaber, because if they had just found it, I'd be okay with that, but she said, a good question for another time. Okay, I'm holding on to that, Maz, we better find out soon. So those are my thoughts on Star Wars The Last Jedi, and now here's this week's Stardust winner and their thoughts on the film.
So yes, this new Star Wars movie is about as amazing as everyone's saying it is. The acting is phenomenal, the effects, they're really amazing. The cinematography and scenery is mind-blowing, and everyone's walking out right now in amazement. That tells you how good this movie is.
So now I want to know, did you guys get a chance to see it? And if so, what did you think? Do you like what they did with Luke and Leia? And again, without giving away too much, do you like how it all wrapped up? Also, let me know, what was your favorite part of the film, or the thing that you didn't like the most? And also, are there any other films or TV shows or even trailers coming up that you want me to do a review of? Well, go ahead and leave your comments below. Be sure to like and share. And if you're new and like what you saw here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And also be sure to hit the little bell button down there to get notified when new stuff comes out, because I